And I posted a poll asking Twitter if it would be known as the MRSA for Medical Ursa. The community said, nah, no way, noobifier. They've already come up with something better. So I will announce that this vehicle will now be called the RSI NURSA Rover. Right? Lockdown, just like Tonk. We move on. On the 17th of May 2024, there was an hour-long Star Citizen Live Q&A. It was originally called Ships of Invictus, but then that changed to Q&A All Ships. Here's what you need to know. John, Mark, Ben, Corey were on deck. The developers with the focus on the ship pipeline. They went over the basics that all of us regulars know very well for about 20 minutes. The pipeline, there's a need identified, there's a brief, there's a concept, there's concept art and models, there's the design meeting. The concept is refined with members from audio, lighting, gameplay, features, and all others towards the goal of adding the new ship with a proper need and a proper reason. All teams work together such that they're able to achieve the overall goal balanced with the individual's needs. Salvage was used as an example where the look of the ship exterior needs to account for the proposed gameplay. Once the ship is ready, it's tested internally for balance, plus the marketing team gets to work on the ship store narrative, the Q&A thread, and all of the materials that go along with the release of a new ship. It requires a full effort from the entire company to bring a ship to release. The 5 offices share the load. No one studio has one manufacturer. They said it's important to mix the tasks around so that one team never gets bored of repetition. The correct team is chosen to work on the one ship based on the schedule and capability from start to finish. Other parts such as audio and art are tasked as needed from different offices. They spoke about the schedule. There are 4 quarters and at least one ship is released per quarter. John explained that a cap ship may occupy most of a team for more than one quarter, and the work is balanced out, but ultimately it's up to Chris. If the entire team was put onto one cap ship, John said that the complete team would be able to produce maybe 1 or 2, but his team is also tasked on base building and other sections for the game. When a new feature like salvage was added, it's not just the salvage ships. 100% of the entire fleet needed to be reworked to support the mechanic. And a second example was used. When fire extinguishers will be added, 100% of the fleet is going to need a team of developers to add it to all of the ships so that we can have it. And it set in a little bit at that moment about how big of a task it would be to bring an entire fleet just to gold standard. So to easily summarize the problem is when salvage was added, it wasn't just salvage ships that needed to work, it was all of them. Jared reminisced about the time where ships were art complete, such as the Reclaimer and the Starfarer, and they would just be released without a mechanic, possibly for 5 or 6 years. The Caterpillar is also missing modularity, its loading doors, and its shuttle, but it does have cargo gameplay. The MSR is missing its data running, but it does have cargo gameplay. They do not want to do that anymore, or at least they try not to. Sometimes a feature team may tackle a new game loop, and this would also adjust the current plan for what ships are done in what order. Jared commented that the 2 new ships, the NURSA and the Firebird, should have been a simple tweak and sell, and they said that there's a backlog of variants that are planned, so when taking time to do a gold standard on a ship, it's also very easy to pump out a new variant at the same time. John mentioned that last year, many of the old team had moved on from CIG, resulting in new hires, and these variant updates are great for the new members as their first tasking. So the NURSA and the Firebird were actually done by new hires to help them get up to speed. They acknowledged that modularity was pitched in 2015, and based on the growing scope of the game, it never made sense to add it at the time. They are still not really in a position to fully add its functionality as promised, but they did say that swapping out Retaliator bays is possible. Torpedo, cargo, and a blank space are swappable, but they're going to work on dropship and habitation later. At the 51-minute mark of this show, chat noticed that not a single question was taken from Spectrum for the Q&A. Jared asked about ground vehicles. The Pulse was added, and the developers noted that it didn't really require very much work because it's mostly based off of what we already have, but they needed to make it very small and able to fit in even the smallest cargo space. John said that there's currently some odd behavior for ground vehicles in the most current patch that's being looked into. He also said that eventually we would see more variation options for the existing fleet, such as new tires, components, but these are not seen as a priority. They tried to answer the medbed question, the big drama that's happening right now, which is, was the medbed changed to sell more NURSAs? And Jared changed the lights and said, no, of course not. 4 years ago, the design concept was what we currently have with the recent update. What we've had for 4 years was a placeholder, and the official answer is that we now have what they were planning from the start. Death of a Spaceman is still part of the plan with new challenges and consequences, so basically, stay tuned. That's it. Thank you very much for spending your time with me. Fly safe, and I'll see you in the verse.